In my last video, I shared what I've learned after living without sugar for the past few years. During that time, I wasn't just changing what I ate. I started wondering, where was my energy coming from? If it doesn't come from sugar. And as I kept experimenting and learning, I discovered that my body could create energy in a completely different way. That discovery changed the way I think about food, fasting, and metabolic health. And today, I would love to share that discovery with you. The truth is, my curiosity about how my body works goes back decades, long before anyone talked about intermittent fasting. Back in my 20s, 30s, I remember doing something very simple. I would eat a light dinner and I stopped eating after 6 o'clock in the evening. What I remember the most wasn't feeling deprived. I remember feeling lighter, more energetic, and I loved that feeling. I also remember noticing something else. Even when I would have one piece of chocolate or candy, could change that feeling. Not because I felt guilty, I just didn't feel as light anymore. And at that time, I couldn't explain why. I had always cared about living a healthy lifestyle. Even back then, I paid attention to what I ate. I naturally stayed away from many starchy foods because I knew I felt better without them. And not eating late in the evening became part of my routine. I still couldn't explain why those habits made me feel so good. I just knew they did. Looking back now, I realized my body had been giving me clues all along. I just didn't understand what it was trying to tell me. Then life got busy, like many of us. There were years when I stopped paying attention as closely. But my curiosity never disappeared. Years later, I started asking those same questions again. Only this time I had tools that I never had before. The blood work, DEXA scans, continued glucose monitor, ketone measurements, fasting insulin measurements, and years of observing how my body responded to food and fasting and sleep and exercise and stress and recovery. I wasn't trying to prove that one diet was better than the other. I wasn't trying to convince anyone to eat the way I eat. I simply wanted to understand my own body because I believe when we understand our bodies, we make better decisions. And if you've ever been curious about how your own body responds to food, fasting, sleep, or exercise, and you'd like help making sense of it, feel free to reach out. This is exactly the kind of work I'd love to do for people. One discovery completely changed the way I think about food and energy and metabolic health. I realized our bodies have two amazing ways to create energy. Most of us grew up believing our energy comes from the food we eat, and that's true, but it's only part of the story. So what happens? When we eat, our bodies use the energy from that meal. And when we haven't eaten for a while, our bodies don't panic. They simply begin using the energy that we've already stored. No matter which fuel your body's using, if it's energy from meal or energy that you already stored, the goal is the same. Your cells still need to produce energy. And that's where tiny structures inside of almost every cell, called mitochondria, come in. They're often called the powerhouses of our cells because they help turn those fuels into the energy that keeps us alive. And the healthier our mitochondria are, the better we're able to produce the energy our bodies need every single day. That's one more reason I became so interested in metabolic health. To me, it isn't just about blood sugar. It isn't about fasting. It isn't about ketones. It's about helping our cells create energy efficiently so our bodies can function the way they were designed to. Think about this for a moment. Every night, while we sleep, we're fasting. And our bodies continue to produce energy that we need until we eat again. If our bodies couldn't do that, none of us would make it through the night without waking up to eat. When I truly understood that, fasting stopped feeling like deprivation. Instead, I started seeing it was giving the body the opportunity to do something it was beautifully designed to do. Healthy metabolism isn't about always burning glucose, and it's not about always burning fat. It's about comfortably using both. That's called metabolic flexibility. And to me, metabolic flexibility is a kind of freedom. Not freedom to ignore my health, not freedom to eat anything and never think about it, but freedom from feeling like I have to eat every couple of hours just to keep my energy stable. Freedom from panicking when I haven't eaten for a while. Freedom from thinking my body is fragile and working against me. Because the more I learned, the more I realized my body was not the problem. I simply didn't understand what it was trying to do. Suddenly, experiences that I've had for decades finally started making sense. I understood why I loved the feeling with earlier, lighter dinner, and I understood why one piece of chocolate could change how I felt. I understood why there were times when I could go many hours without eating and still feel steady and clear. My body had been communicating with me all along. I just did not understand its language yet. Once I understood that my body has two amazing ways to create energy, I became more curious. Instead of asking, what should I eat? I started asking, what is my body trying to tell me? That question changed everything. I became less interested in finding the perfect diet and much more interested in understanding my own body. That's when my experiments became even more interesting. I wore a continuous glucose monitor, I measured ketones, I tracked fasting insulin, I compared blood work, and I watched how my body responded to different foods. Different amount sleep, exercise, stress, hot yoga, even sitting in the sauna. One thing that surprised me was seeing my blood sugar sometimes rise even when I hadn't eaten anything. Before wearing a continuous glucose monitor, I never would have known that was happening. But once I understood how body creates energy, those observations finally made sense. Sometimes my body was responding to stress, sometimes to heat, sometimes to exercise, sometimes simply because I hadn't eaten anything for a while. I realized my body wasn't doing something wrong. It was responding exactly the way it was designed to respond. That taught me something important. Our bodies aren't just responding to food. They're responding to everything what's happening around us. That includes sleep, movement, stress, hormones, the temperature, recovery, and food's only one part of the picture. And for me, numbers were never the goal. The numbers didn't change my health. They helped me to understand what my body had been trying to tell me for years. And once I understood that, I stopped worrying about every little change. I became calmer, more curious, and much more connected to my own body. That's really what I hope this channel encourages, because I'm not here to tell everyone exactly what to eat, and I'm not here to convince anyone to live exactly the way I live. I'm sharing my experiments because I hope they inspire you to become curious about your own body. Because your body may have been giving you the clues for years too. Through your energy, through hunger, through sleep, through your cravings, your recovery, your mood, or simply the way you feel after different foods. For a long time, I thought my job was to control my body. Today, I see it differently. I think my job is to understand it. And every experiment, every blood test, every scan, every observation has helped me to appreciate how intelligently our bodies are designed. Today, I don't believe my body is working against me. I believe it's working for me. And the more I learn to listen, the more I can work with it instead of against it. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. Your body has two amazing ways to create energy, and learning how they work completely changed the way I think about food and fasting and metabolic health. But even more than that, it changed the relationship I have with my own body. And one of the things I enjoy most about this channel is hearing what other people notice about their own bodies. So as you're watching this video, and if something reminds you like one of those own experiences, I would love for you to share it in our comments. We all experience our bodies a little differently. And I think honestly, we can learn from each other. And if you have questions about my experiments, or you'd like help understanding your own health, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this video was helpful, I would love for you to subscribe and continue learning with me. I'll see you in my next video.